I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking.
Hello, and welcome. Y'all, in my notes, it is spelled Hellow. There was a typo. Hello, and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder. Y'all, another typo. I'm your hoist, Dust, Hoist. I must have been typing really quick. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and today we are drinking from the garden with a chat with sisters Belinda, Kelly, and Venise Cunningham of Simple Goodness Farm. A couple disclaimers here. We had several connectivity issues when recording this episode, and they started off the jump. They were like, listen, we're on a farm. Connectivity can be hard, but we're going to give this a go. So they prefaced it, and we made it through. But this recording, the episode for this was a mashup of like Zoom and StreamYard. We made it through, and hopefully most of it is audible. I also want to mention that there are a couple things in this book that are not plant-based, okay, listeners? And I'm very aware of that. They use honey in some spots and also have some garnishes in a couple drinks that are not vegan. But at its heart, this book is about using the plant items you can grow in your garden to make delicious craft cocktails and mocktails. So I thought I would cover the book. I decided to cover it because I think it's a fun perspective. If you think farm to table, this book is like farm to glass, going beyond the plate to bring every herb to the table in a fun, innovative way. So here we go. Sisters Belinda, Kelly, and Venise Cunningham have together grown a successful business, Simple Goodness Farm, by embracing nostalgia, nature, and back to basics way of living. They've given a unique homespun spin to their cocktails and family-friendly happy hours with syrups, tinctures, juices, spirits, shrubs, cocktails, and mocktails showcased in Drink Your Garden. Perfect for a green thumb or great farmers market shopper alike, this book shares how to capture the intense, pure flavors of a season and naturally preserve them, as well as offering basic instructions for gardening, everything drink-worthy from simple windowsill herbs to vegetables and edible flowers. Novice bartenders and gardeners of all skill levels will find unique inspiration, while the environmentally conscious consumer will resonate with Kelly and Cunningham's farm-to-table approach that supports a zero-waste lifestyle. Complete with recipes for alcoholic, low alcoholic, and alcohol-free drinks, there's something for everyone in Drink Your Garden. Here they are to tell us all about it. It's Belinda and Venise. They are proof that dreaming openly and taking risk to follow those dreams pays off. Please welcome to the Keep On Cooking podcast, the Simple Goodness sisters, Belinda, Kelly, and Venise Cunningham. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, welcome. Thank you. I mean, not welcome. Thank you.
And you're welcome.
We're already off to a great start.
Rolling along here. We're going to start with your icebreaker question here. As sisters, what is something you've always found your sister to be fascinatingly good at?
Oh, this is so easy for me with Venise because we joke about it all the time. I say the ideal job for her would be to like sit on a mountain and then people just pilgrimage up to her and she gives them ideas. She's like an idea generator. Like she's better than Chat GPT. Like she'll just tell you like, this is what you should do with your life. And she'll have like the best business plan.
Oh my gosh. Where were you for me like a month ago? I needed you badly. I feel like so people can just be like, I'm good at XYZ. And you'll be like, fantastic. Here we go. Business plan.
Yeah. I guess right back at her is that like this is why we're co-founders. Is what I find fascinatingly interesting about Belinda is that she can actually make it all happen. Because I'm very good at big idea things, but then I'm like, okay, well that was fun, let's move on to the next big idea. And Belinda's like, well, what are we gonna do with the idea? How are we gonna execute that? And that is a skill that I am still trying to work on, but just comes very naturally to her. She's a fantastic list maker and she can get ish done.
I love it. I need a little bit of that energy from both of you and in my daily. It sounds like my sister, it's something that I find her to be fascinatingly good at. I have one sibling, it's a sister, is she can talk to anyone with ease in any given situation. And it is just not a skill that I have. She can just sit there and just like shoot the breeze forever with somebody. And I will watch her in social situations and I'm like, I don't know where that came from because I cannot do that to save my life.
Okay, well, that's wild because you host a podcast.
Yeah.
We've got a topic. We've got a book. You know what I mean? She can be like at a gathering and just be like, oh, well, yesterday I was blah, 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 blah. And I was like, and I watch people and they're engaged because my first reaction is I'm like, do they really care about what she did yesterday and XYZ? But it must be the way she's sharing it with them. So it's very impressive. My goodness. Well, speaking about the book and having a topic, we're here today to chat through the cookbook, Drink Your Garden, Recipes, Stories, and Tips from the Simple Goodness Cocktail Farm. This book offers a charming zero waste guide to crafting seasonal cocktails and mocktails using homegrown or farmers market ingredients, blending cottage core aesthetics with practical gardening and mixology tips for all skill levels. Of course, before there was a book, there was so much more. How did we get to this place? And when and how did crafting cocktails from the garden become a thing for you both and then ultimately a business?
Oh yeah, such a long answer. The fastest thing I think is just that we've spent the last decade of our lives building these businesses around seasonal drinks, and started with like a cocktail camper business that I had at the very beginning of the mobile bar craze. And this is back in like 2014 when I was thinking about it, and then 2016 when we actually started. Food trucks were huge and they were just kind of everywhere, and I decided I was going to do one. I actually wanted it to be cupcakes. Venise reminded me of that the other day. That I love to bake. I still do. It's my stress relief. And so it was supposed to be like a bakery business, but I realized that the margin sucks on baked goods, and you can sell alcohol for quite a bit more. But they have really like similar through lines of flavor and like experimentation with infusions and precision, and so I pivoted to cocktails. So when I
Before
started
you
that
go
business,
further, we've got to tell people the name of that. It was the Happy Camper Cocktail Company, correct?
yes,
I
yeah,
just really love the name of that. So I was like, let's not zoom past that too fast, because I thought,
yes,
and that
it was
was a
so
camper
cute.
that you actually outfitted, right? And took around mobile wise and catered and stuff like that with cocktails?
Yeah, and it started as a camper because that was, the first thing I saw one in the UK that was a cupcake camper, and I just thought that's actually I saw a gin one in the UK, and then there was one in San Luis Obispo that was a cupcake one. And I was like, those are so cute. I should do that. And my husband's really handy and willing, or he used to be a lot more willing. After 10 years of this, he's starting to get less willing. But he was like, yeah, we could do that. And it grew from there into like several mobile bars and more of just like a full service cocktail catering thing. So it's like we could do, multiple pop-up bars at events, and it was really about the menu and kind of the execution, and everything was very pretty with the delivery of, everything had to be about being cute, not just functional, right? So bartending is not always like the cutest supplies, and we had only the cutest supplies and
Sure.
no plastic juice bottles here, like everything's out of glass for aesthetics. So it was just very high end and cute, and that was a big focus for me, was making it seasonal, because I had just frankly left a really good job that had really great health insurance and a 401k. And I thought, if I'm giving up all of that, I might as well do something exactly in my fullest vision of what it could look like. And so it was seasonal and garden to glass. And that was something I had just gotten into gardening in the couple years prior. I was at that stage of my life where I didn't have any kids, but I just bought a house and really wanted to like explore that. I wanted to grow tomatoes because I love the movie Steel Magnolias.
Yes.
And
Yes.
all Southern women have to grow tomatoes. They don't get to decide. It's just the rules. And I'm not Southern, but I want to be. So I was like, I'm going to have a garden. So at that time in Venice's life, it was also like similar, no kids yet, kind of establishing a house, and she was establishing her little like mini hobby farm.
Yeah. So we had just bought a house that was on 10 acres at the base of Mount Rainier, and didn't really know what to do with it. We definitely had been a dairy, and we did not want to run a dairy. We knew that for sure. And so, but I had never really grown anything either. Neither our grandparents had a small farm in the valley, but our parents, our dad was an entrepreneur and our mom was a teacher, and so we didn't have any of that. They didn't have a garden. Our dad really likes to grow grass, and he's very good at growing grass and keeping it very green. But other than that, that was really all we ever did. And so I had to learn a lot. But we had 10 acres, and like it's like, well, what point is having 10 acres if you don't grow something on it? And so started with heirloom garlic because I'm a great millennial, and I Googled most profitable crop to grow on small
Amazing.
acreage. Yeah. Google knows all.
So good.
And then I also found this mentor who had been growing garlic in our area for a really long time. He's like,
Shout out Farmer Steven.
yeah, so he's like
Farmer
this
Steven.
quirky ex-Boeing engineer who got real nerdy into garlic and just happened to be like in my backyard. And so he came over and gave me a garlic 101 course. And so for the first couple of years, we just grew garlic and a lot of it. But then garlic is a fall crop, and I actually have two babies, and they were both born in September, which made kind of all of that hard. We have a lot of birthdays and school starts and like everything. And when I was pregnant, I was like getting ready to have a baby. So seed didn't get in the ground, and garlic seed is something that you grow over and over again. Like you keep all the seed and you replant.
To be very, very clear for people who have never grown garlic seed is a clove of garlic.
Yeah.
So you harvest your garlic, and then you divide the bulb into the cloves, and that's what you replant, which I don't think everyone knows that. When you hear seed, it's like, no, it's actual the cloves. So you have to save it and you have to use it. Otherwise it goes bad, just like garlic will go bad in your pantry, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, and garlic seed is like 4 times the cost of what you're buying at the grocery store.
Because it's really big.
Yeah, what you're buying at the grocery store is basically the seed reject, or it's stuff from overseas that's just grown for food. But anyways, it's not a garlic podcast, but
It is today.
But we so I had a bunch of seed that went bad, didn't want to reinvest in new seed, and so was kind of like, I don't know what to do with the farm and kind of this area that I had already cultivated. And so Belinda was like, hey, well, you know what I need for my business is I need herbs and edible flowers, because they're really hard to buy through like a farmer's market. They're usually like really small quantities, and she was already kind of working at bigger quantities than what you could realistically get at a grocery store. And then with the edible flowers, they're just really hard to find.
They're incredibly expensive.
Yeah, or incredibly expensive. And so
I
was like,
love them,
sure,
and I always have trouble sourcing them. Every time I want to find them, I'm like, but yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. And like they're always the same thing. Like the ones that you can source, it's like always the same things. And so you're like, okay. And so I was like, all right, well, let's try some herbs and edible flowers. But I think what Belinda forgot is that like I have a large space. We're still only growing on an acre, but like I'm talking like if I don't put like 1 or 2 things in, I put 100-foot rows in. And so pretty soon I had just a lot of flowers and herbs, and Belinda was using like not even 1 plant's worth. And so I was like, well, what are we going to do with all of this? You told me to grow all this stuff, and I did. I executed.
And like you said in the intro, the whole zero waste thing, like we didn't grow up with a farm, but we grew up with the mentality of our grandparents' farm. Like they were very much like Depression era people who were like, you use everything. They had like the rubber band ball. Like they actually had a rubber band ball, in their Oldsmobile like center console. So we just had that perspective where it's like, we can't grow this and have it go to waste. Like we should make something with this, right? And it's truly like once you grow something, you're very invested in the outcome of it. And then you want to start doing something with it. So like we say in the book, like gardening is a gateway to preserving, because then you're excited about like, what are all the things I can make? So that's kind of what led to bottling the syrup.
So we basically just did exactly what we would do at home or any other gardener who has extra something, and we decided to figure out a way to preserve it or put it in a bottle. And so we launched a line of the simple syrups, because my sit on top of a mountain self went to one of her first events, and everyone was like, hey, this drink is so good. How do you make it? I really want the recipe. Like it's so yummy. And I was just hauling ice, because at this time I knew nothing about drinks. And I was like, well, the secret is in the literal sauce or the simple syrup that she was making, because it was a rhubarb vanilla bean simple syrup. So it's not something you could get anywhere on the market. It was rhubarb, like it took a lot. So Belinda was like trying to explain this to these like nice ladies who
I'm like, okay, you chop the rhubarb and then you get a vanilla bean, and I know they're so expensive, but it's worth it. And then you're going to split it, and then you're going to scrape it, and then you're going to put it, and then you're going to let it stew, and then the rhubarb's going to soften and release the juices.
And they were like,
eyes glaze over. No one cares.
They're like, okay, sweetie, thank you.
And I'm sitting there thinking like, yeah, I'm out too. Like that's way too much work. And so I was like, but if you could bottle this so that they could just do what everybody wants to do when they want to drink, and just pour drink, then that's the money right there. And so I pitched her the idea of launching a simple syrup company, and she said no right away. And then she's like, make me a business plan. And so I spent some time putting together a lot of fake numbers in a very fancy presentation.
And an Excel spreadsheet that she sent to me. I had just started a business. Like, I was full on in execution mode. I knew how much work it is to do. At this stage, she hadn't grown commercially. It was more just like a hobby thing, and she still had like her full-time job. So I was like, you better prove that this is worth it.
Yeah.
And I found a co-packer, and that was kind of the biggest thing, is like co-packers are really hard to find because they don't really have to advertise. And we found this co-packer down in Oregon, which was like a 6-hour drive for us.
Sure.
And it was like, and we drove down there with we harvested all of my things. We had this big trailer.
And we had all of our naivety in the backseat with us because it was a dumb idea and we didn't know what we were doing and we had no idea how to scale a recipe. And yeah.
And so our business was born.
I love it. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. I mean, really, that is how it happens. I mean, you got to take the risk. You got to take the jump. And when you don't know what you're doing, sometimes that's the best way, because if you knew, you might not do it then.
Oh, yes. Right? That is the truth.
Yeah.
And, what's that? Marie something or other. She says everything is figure outable. And like, that was definitely a mantra of ours at the beginning, is like, all right, now we just have to figure it out how, now we have to figure out what that means.
Yeah. And I always take myself back to I'm like, well, everybody made it up to begin with. So we'll just keep making it up, like whatever our variation of it is. Right. So like, onward, and you did it. And now you've given us this book. This beautiful book has been born of it. So now when those ladies ask you, of course they can buy the syrup from you, but you can be also like, or you can craft this at home with this wonderful book. So we're looking at Drink Your Garden. Now, what's a summary for the home cook? What are they getting from this book?
Well, what we found through the process of making the syrups is that commercially you have to make the same thing over and over and over, because that's what your customers expect, and they fall in love with something and they want to keep making it. But what really got us excited about drinking seasonally was being able to make lots of different things, or to take a single plant or herb that Venise was growing and use it in not just a single syrup, but in all these different ways. And we have a soda shop where we have like a brick and mortar tasting room. And so when we were putting together drinks for that menu, we just amassed so many recipes over the years. And it's like, syrups are just the tip of the iceberg on how to use your garden in drinks. And really, we put all of this attention into food, and making it farm to table and making it seasonal. And we don't give that same attention to drinks. Most of us are very used to drinks being very, bottled, packaged, commercial. That's how we drink. But it just really struck me as odd that we do that when it's like we can make all of this stuff from scratch, just like we can take the time to make a salad or a soup from scratch. So Drink Your Garden is really about how to preserve your garden in liquid form. And that is, we'll go through all the chapters, but it's like, you've got syrups, you've got bitters and tinctures, you've got infused spirits, you've got garnishes, you've got pickles. Like, there's so many different things that you can incorporate. And essentially what you're doing is creating a bar cart, or, a pantry, because I'm a big pantry cook. Like, you cook from staples from your pantry, right? You don't have to cook for every single meal you cook. And this is allowing you to do that. You basically preserve things all throughout the seasons, and then put them in your pantry. And every time you want this really great seasonal, delicious drink, you have these items to pull from and create something from scratch.
I love it. So many things you can do, not just about the syrup. So let's dive in. You start the book with some tips in a section called Garden to Glass Drink Making. What are a couple tips you offer from this section to give listeners an idea of some foundational elements that are involved in garden to glass drink making?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that it's called the case for slow food and drinks. And one of the things I want to start with is just like, why? Well, because we've gotten so used to one way. Why is it worth it to do it the other way? And for me, the biggest difference is that, like, I think our relationship with alcohol especially, but with drinks in general, is different because we don't take the time to make them from scratch. And I think that leads to a lot of, overconsumption or like unthoughtful consumption of things. But like, if you live in wine country in France, the way that you enjoy a glass of wine is incredibly different than the way we enjoy a glass of, $7 a bottle wine that we pick up at, an Aldi, right? Like, it's just not the same. And so when you have like the perspective of growing something, or, buying from a farmer's market, but then making something seasonally and fresh, the way you enjoy it is just 100% different. And so we talk a lot about, low ABV and alcohol-free imbibing. We also talk about, incorporating your family into this ritual and, allowing happier hour to be very inclusive of sober people, or, sober friendly or like curious people. So that's a big thing, I think, is just like that way of drinking is big for us. And it's really what we hope, like it's the thing that like we very cheesily hope changes the world, like not just so that you learn how to make a syrup, but like maybe that it changes the whole way you sit down at the end of a day and enjoy a glass with, people you love, or by yourself. Lord knows I need some time by myself sometimes.
Absolutely.
And then
Absolutely.
right. So that's like one thing. Another thing we talk about is the idea of using everything you grow in lots of different ways. And this is kind of the zero waste piece. I think another thing that is important with garden glass drink making is the idea of using everything you grow in lots of different ways. And one of the things that I really don't enjoy about a cookbook is when they make me make like a special sauce or a recipe just for that recipe, and then I'm like, what am I supposed to do with the rest of this? I just made like 4, 5, 6 servings of this, and I'm not going to eat this all week, So one of the things we do in the book a lot is do a lot of cross-referencing of, if you make this, here's how to use it all these different ways, or if you have leftovers from this, here's an idea of how to use those. And that's a big part of the way that we cook and preserve things. And then there's a lot of just like practical bartending tips. The book I think is really approachable for anyone who's not, a fancy mixologist with, a leather apron and a mustache.
Sure. Yeah,
You've got a great one.
Thank you.
But but it's very like entry friendly, as well as we've had a lot of professionals in of bartending world review it and be like, there's still a lot of stuff here that I didn't know or wouldn't have thought to use it this way. But it goes through just like, here's some tools you might want to have, we try to keep the tool list very simple. Again, we're very pragmatic people. So I don't want you need to buy a ton of things, but here's some things you might need. And then here's some very simple things to stock the liquor cabinet with. Because I also think people can be really overzealous about overdoing that. And then you end up with a lot of bottles that were pretty expensive to purchase and you might not use them in everything. So it gives you really just like a breakdown of, okay, if you're buying, one rum, here's what to buy. And, here's another bottle you might add later, kind of a thing.
Nice. You've also got the infusion guide in there too. Do you want to tell me a little more about the infusion guide?
How did I miss the infusion guide?
It's so great. The breakdown in there is wonderful.
Thank you. I actually have been saying that this is the best thing I've put into the world besides my 2 children. I'm really proud of it.
Coming in third.
Yeah. So it just basically lists all the ingredients that you'll use in this book and some more that we think you might typically reach for. And then it tells you like timing you might want to consider, and then tips. So like heat levels for certain ingredients are going to be different. Some very like soft or delicate ingredients don't want to be in really high heat for a long time, or they can get this really like bitter or acrid taste. And so maybe you'll infuse those cold or just like a quick dip. There's other things you might consider about like whether it's going to leach color or not. And so there's all kinds of tips in this section too. And it's like, if I want to make a bitters with like a almonds, but I don't actually have that recipe in this book, I can go to the infusion chart though, and I know that nuts need probably 10 to 15 days or 10 to 15 minutes for a hot infusion like a cordial or a syrup, but they actually need 7 to 14 days for a spirit. And so that's really helpful to know. And also the fact that if I just put a whole almond into something, I'm not going to get a lot of flavor out of it.
Yeah.
But if I crush it, if I toast it first, there are all these steps that we can do to help the infusion along. And so,
Oh yeah.
yeah, just kind of
That's
all of our
great.
collective knowledge that I just dumped into a chart.
It's so great when you're able to look at a chart like that though and really just pick out like bits and pieces and go, oh, what about this thing? Oh, I wonder if that's on the chart, and be able to take a look. So it's so good to have that. And then you have a section called the cocktail garden. This really breaks down what you will want to grow if you want to master creating cocktails from the garden, including an edible flower, which is so fun and informative. What are a few things that are absolute must in someone's cocktail garden?
Oh, so I have some of my absolute favorites that, despite either how hard they are or how much they self-seed and become weeds, I am obsessed with and will try to grow every single year. And one of that is, oh gosh.
One of that is toothache plant.
Toothache plant. Yeah. So Toothache plant it loves the heat, and so we're up here in the Pacific Northwest. Honestly, like mine haven't even started to germinate yet because it's just not warm enough. And so it is kind of a pain because the growing season for toothache here is kind of short. But if you're somewhere where it's warmer, you should absolutely be growing toothache plant. And it's not a cute flower. It's quite ugly. But if you chew on it, it does all these kind of crazy things in your mouth. And so it got very famous at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas. They have that plant that they've sold like over $1 million worth of just the one cocktail that features it.
It's a
Crazy.
She's an incredible bartender. She's now at the Wynn, and she invented this drink with the buzz button.
Yeah, and they call it the buzz button. You might hear it called like hippie cocaine because it does the same similar.
It's like a buzzing, tingling sensation that kind of rolls around your palate based on where you chewed it. It was used like in Chinese medicine, dentistry, like historically.
Because it gives your mouth a tingly. So I love it just for my own personal, like I'll pop one in my mouth and chew it away.
Weirdly addicted to them. She'll just be like out in the field eating them.
Yeah, it's fun. I like to give them to like 3 or more people at a time because what you'll find is like people have very different reactions. Some people will call it spicy, which it is not spicy. And then I'm like, we need to develop your palate a little bit more because it's not spicy. It's tingly, which is different than spicy. But some people just salivate a lot and they're completely grossed out by it. Like it's like a whole thing. But
it's a really fun party trick, which is why it's an essential for our cocktail garden.
Yes.
And
it's called toothache?
Toothache, or it's called it's like from the Szechuan family, so they'll call it Szechuan buzz button.
Okay.
Or electric daisy, sometimes it's called.
It looks like the inside of like a cone flower, kind of
like an echinacea, just like just the center.
Yeah. And then I would say nasturtiums are kind of like they're pretty. They make any like tropical style cocktail look very tropical. They also have that spiciness, so they're yummy to eat. I also like to eat those. A lot of edible flowers are technically edible, but they don't really add anything, where a nasturtium like in a margarita just makes great sense.
Plus they're great companion plants in the garden anyway, and they just look so pretty, so I plant them
and you can eat the leaves. I really like actually the leaves are spicy, and so I'll cut those up and I put them in my salads, and it's fun. One year I probably overly nitrogen fertilized my plants, and so I had really large leaves, like really big leaves and not a lot of blooms. And so I actually used those as lettuce wraps. They were amazing. So
that's amazing.
That's another thing you can try.
Yeah, really using all the pieces there. I love it. Well, this takes us into our first recipe section, which is syrups and cordials. Now, for someone who just picks up this book after they listen to this episode today, what is something each of you would pick from this chapter as a must make for that person? The first syrup or cordial they need to make from this chapter?
Well, for me, it would be the blackberry mint or the marionberry mint. We use marionberries up here in the Pacific Northwest because we have a lot of them and everyone loves them. It's actually a syrup that we sell, and it's always one of our top syrup flavors. It was actually funny when we pitched this book to the publisher. They were like, well, aren't you going to give away all of your recipes for your business? And we do give some of them, but honestly, we're like, none of this is rocket science. Like anyone can make a simple syrup. Like it's not
making it commercially that's hard.
And so that's one of my absolute favorites. And especially in the summer, it's just like super classic.
And we have, when we get to the cocktail recipe, you'll see section, but there's like a mojito and a marionberry mint sidecar, and we both love both those cocktails, so very essential for that. For me, I love floral flavors. I think floral syrups are really fun to make at home because you don't see them a lot commercially. They're not everywhere. And one that I have loved the reaction to is the lilac cordial, because so many people have lilacs in their home gardens or in their yards, and they had no idea it was edible, and they have no idea what the flavor is like. And so that was really fun for us. We launched the book in March, and all spring we were getting people, tagging us in lilac cordial and lilac cocktails, and it was really fun to see. It has a almost cotton candy-y kind of flavor. It's really good.
I also didn't know it was edible. That is new information for me as well. And there's so much great stuff in here. Basic flavored simple syrup, of course. So you got a nice fundamental there. Strawberry syrup, lime basil syrup. I'm here for that one. Citrus cordial. We got that lilac cordial in here. Pumpkin spice syrup, apple butter and cranberry rosemary syrup. Such great stuff in there. And then we get into shrubs in the next chapter. Can you explain for listeners and perhaps the host? That's me. What is a shrub exactly? I've seen this on menus and I'm like, yeah, shrub. Got it. Yeah. What is a shrub exactly?
It is a old-fashioned term, but it's basically a drinking vinegar. So that you'll sometimes see it commercially, like at a farmer's market or something for sale under that term. But it is a syrup. It's just a syrup where you've replaced the water component with vinegar. And what it does is vinegar, as you can imagine, as opposed to water, it's very acidic, so it pulls flavor more. So as far as like an extractor of flavor, vinegar is a great way to infuse things. And so it's pulling more flavor from the fruit and vegetables, and you can actually, because of that, break things down cold, whereas most syrups have to be heated because you have to have that sugar dissolve and you have to get enough heat to pull out flavor. With the vinegar, you can actually pull it out cold or hot, so you can do a hot or cold infusion, and they balance a drink really easily. So we love these, and your fancy craft cocktail bars love these for mocktails or zero proof drinks, because they're going to create a sweet and tart all in one mixer. And they're just really delicious. They're surprising to people, I think. They can be really acidic, or you can make it lighter. It also depends on what type of vinegar you use. Like an apple cider vinegar is much more pungent than like a champagne vinegar is more delicate. Sure. So there's lots of options to make it really tasty.
I also really like shrubs because from a food science perspective, which I make most of the syrups, and you will preserve your syrups or anything that you're canning through pH. And so in vinegar, that's why a lot of canning recipes add a vinegar or a lemon juice to it. And it's just to drop that pH down so that then you can preserve it. And so when you make a shrub, it's very hard to screw it up. It's very hard to not hit that pH because that vinegar has such a low pH. And so you can really experiment with these ones without having to get out your pH meter and like really obsess over some of the science pieces.
And from a home perspective, what's great about that is that because they're so acidic, they can be preserved for so long, so that the shell or the refrigerator life of a shrub is 6 months to a year, whereas a syrup might only last a couple months in the fridge.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And I love the ease of this too, the making of the shrub. That sounds right up my alley. I'm all for, it's crazy. I teach cooking classes and I'm always like, I am the chef that's going to tell you to take the hack or do the thing that's going to make it, because people stress out about cooking or making things from scratch. And I'm like, well, then make it as easy as possible. So when there's something like a shrub that is the supposedly easier route, that might be one I might gravitate towards first. What are a couple of your favorites in the shrub category?
Well, I love that you said that about how you're like cooking style, because it's also mine. I'm also like a make a salad from everything left over in the fridge kind of person.
Oh yeah.
And you can there's a shrub for that. So the thing I love about shrubs is you don't need a ton of flavor or a ton of the component to pull the flavor out. And so you can literally use leftovers and then just make a shrub out of it. And that actually inspired one that I wanted to call kitchen sink shrub. And the editor was like, no one's gonna like that term. That sounds gross. But it's just like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and throw in the kitchen sink. So it's like the strawberry, pepper, and mint shrub was truly, I made a salad that it's Susan, I can't remember her last name right now, but she's a food writer, and she has this like strawberry shishito cold soba noodle salad recipe. And I made that, and then I just had all the leftovers from it, and I threw it into a shrub, and it is one of the best shrubs I've ever had in my life.
Love
it's
that.
so good. It's like you get the sweet, you get the refreshing, you get the hot, and it's just good.
Yeah, my favorite, I was just looking back and to remind myself, and it was definitely, I was like, oh yeah, for sure, the beet shrub. I love beets, and beets grow like crazy in the garden, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger and sweeter the longer you leave them in the ground, especially if you overwinter them. And so they're nice because you can use them for a really long time, but there does become a point where they start to get wrinkly and you're like, okay, these are done. And what am I going to do with all of these beets? And so I love beets because they are so sweet. To be honest, like Belinda is the pickle sister, like Belinda is the vinegar sister. We actually have very opposite palates. So Belinda loves the shrub and I would prefer syrup. But that's why I like the beet shrub, is because it adds that additional, that like the savory, but also the sweetness that comes from the beets. So
Yeah.
Yes. Well, there's lots of great stuff. And you give everyone a basic shrub, just like you did with the basic flavored simple syrup, a lemon chamomile shrub, a celery shrub, no way spice lime shrub, and a fig cardamom shrub. And then you got a pepper hot sauce in here too. And this takes us into tinctures, liqueurs, and infused spirits. I had some friends in NYC that would make an infused vodka every holiday season, and they would give it as gifts. People would come over to their parties, they would give it as gifts and stuff like that. Are there any items in this chapter like that, ones that would make good gifts? I feel like this is the type of thing that people like love so much, and you can make it from the heart. You give it to them. Anything that's a good gift in here?
I think the Veggie Garden vodka is the best gift because not only is it a way to use like a lot of different veggies all at once, and when there comes a point in the season, if you can or preserve where there's just like, or you grow tomatoes, there's just too many tomatoes. Like I'm not making another jar of sauce, you know? But the Veggie Garden vodka, and then you can make it's later in the juices chapter, but you can make the Bloody Mary mix, and that is just like the perfect little duo to give to someone. The Veggie Garden vodka goes into the Bloody Mary mix, and your friends are going to be really, really happy with you.
And mine is definitely the Buzz Button gin. It is an infused with that Buzz Button, and I have tried every different way to kind of pull that experience out of the Buzz Button, and infusing it into alcohol is the best way.
But it doesn't taste great. It has a kind of vegetal, spinachy, citrusy taste.
Okay.
And so the gin, what we do at the soda shop, which is our tasting room, is we actually do a shot series. So we just shoot it. But I always tell people, try to like hold it and like swish it all around, because that gives you the most intense experience. And no one else is going to get them that for Christmas, I can promise you, and you cannot buy it anywhere. And so it's going to be, and then I have people that ask for every year. They're just super excited, and I don't have to think about their gift because that's just what I get them.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Get yourself some nice little glass bottles, do it up for everyone. And when you started writing this book, and you knew there would be a section on tinctures, liqueurs, and infused spirits. What are a couple of recipes you knew for certain would be in this chapter?
Well, I knew I just wanted to teach people how to make a liqueur. I don't think people know how to do that. And it seems kind of mystical. It's like, it's like someone's Italian uncle knows how to make liqueurs and wine in his basement. But like, if you don't have that uncle, how do you do that? You know? And so I'm somebody who gets really intimidated by things and then has to study them. I'm like very much a learn through books person. And I just wanted to take the intimidation out of it. Like, it's actually incredible easy. It's just math. Like you infuse a spirit with a flavor, and then you infuse a syrup with a flavor, and then you combine those in proportion, which it's just like so many ounces of this and so many ounces of this gets you the finished ABV, the finished alcohol by volume that a liqueur should be. And so liqueurs are just categorized by a certain level of sweetness and a certain level of like alcoholicness. And that's how you make limoncello. We have a recipe for fennelcello, and I knew that one would be in the book because I think we're the only ones to make it. And it came by accident, as many of our recipes do. Work smarter, not harder. Fennel just tried to renature her garden beds. Like it exploded everywhere.
Fennel, if you let it seed. So most people see fennel and they just see the ball of it, the root of it, or the very bottom of it. But actually, I just kind of let mine go because I wanted the tops of it. So I wanted
all
that
parts of it are
pollen.
edible, and the pollen is like revered by chefs. It's like this very, very delicate flavor of the fennel that you use as a little finishing powder and stuff. Like,
so I wanted to try it, and I let it go, and it got massive, absolutely massive. And then it reseeded, it self-seeded all over the garden. That was like 3 years ago, and I'm still weeding fennel out of my garden. So that's my, I guess, warning is that if you don't want fennel everywhere, maybe think about it. But it's also a fantastic pollinator attraction. Like I was always so shocked. Like I would have not only bees, but like every kind of flying insect loved that bush. And so I actually now just go ahead and let some go all the way. And then we make this fennelcello, and it is lovely. If you like black licorice, you will love it. And I love black licorice. So.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so creative. I love how those things come about, right? It's like a happy mistake in a way. You're like, oh, well, what do we do with this? We make this amazing thing. So lots of great stuff in here, everybody. We got a basic liqueur in here, of course, herb tincture, pepper tincture, barkeep citrus bitters, compound gin, buzz button gin, cherry whiskey and whiskey soaked cherries, jalapeno tequila, poblano liqueur. My goodness. The veggie garden vodka you spoke of, kale and chard vodka, berry rum and berry liqueur, elderflower liqueur, or that's lilac liqueur, and then the fenolcello that you spoke of in here. Such good stuff. This takes us into juices, teas, and dehydrating. You cover drying flowers for herbs and tea, floral, non-caffeinated tea blend, botanical waters, fresh tomato juice even. And when I opened this book, this was an unexpected chapter. It was very refreshing to see. So what are a recipe or two that sort of initiated the need for this section? I'm sure you had a couple in mind. You were like, great, we can create a section sort of after we know we've got these couple recipes that started it. And now we can create a whole section on that. What are a couple of those recipes?
Well, this section really originated for the need that I felt for this book to have a really strong non-alcoholic perspective. And non-alcoholic drinks can get very sweet very quickly. And so it can't just rely on a syrup or a shrub. You need like these teas and these infused waters and these juices that really help like round out flavors and make an interesting zero proof drink. I knew in particular that we would have the drying flowers and herbs for tea and then like the actual like tea recipe, just because if we're encouraging people to grow all these edible flowers, like they're going to want to use them for more than garnishes, and this is a very like practical way. I also just find that people, it's that connection piece, and we find this a lot with our work because again beverages are so commoditized. Sure, that's the word.
Sure, yeah.
The connection piece of like, oh, I can just pick my mint from my garden and then dry it in a paper bag on my counter and then pull off the leaves and I've got mint tea for the whole winter. Like it blows people. It's like that obviously that should make sense, but I didn't ever think to do it. And so it's kind of just giving people like the tools and the know-how on how to do it.
Yeah, the fresh tomato juice is by far kind of my favorite, and what I hope that everyone tries at least once in their life to do is make fresh tomato juice, because I'm, if you haven't picked up, I'm the pickier sister. So I wouldn't even like try Bloody Marys because I knew I didn't like commercialized tomato juice.
Sure.
It's just not my favorite thing. And so, but I make tomato sauce every year out of, the garden, because I'm trying to preserve all those tomatoes. And so I'm like separating the flesh from the juice. And then I have all this juice and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this? Like, again, it feels crappy to just throw it down the drain. And so I was like, well, I bet I could make a Bloody Mary mix. I don't like Bloody Marys, but like, I bet I could gift it to somebody and give them that. And then I tried a Bloody Mary with my tomato juice, and I was like, I'll be darned. I like tomato juice.
You're like,
just
look
so
at that
different.
now.
Like the taste of that is so different. It's like eating a fresh tomato, off of a vine versus, in the store.
And if you are cooking and you ever do make your own tomato sauce, don't just throw that juice away, because that juice, just freeze that up and you can make cocktails and delicious Bloody Marys all year long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's great advice for sure. We got some other stuff in here like fresh pressed apple cider, everybody, green juice, botanical waters, floral tea blend, stone fruit tea, sun tea, distilled floral water. Now, this takes us into garnishes. Let's talk about garnishes. Why are garnishes important? Why is there a whole section on garnishes? I know my answer. What's yours?
I mean, I think there's two things that I always really want people to understand. Of course, the first thing is that we are visual creatures, right? Food talk exists for a reason, right? Everyone wants to take a photo of something beautiful. They want to enjoy it first with their eyes. It makes a huge difference, right? And so a garnish pulls you in and adds a layer. And when you're composing a dish of food, it's the same way, where you add texture and you add color and you add layers. And drinks are the same way. You can think about each component of a drink as an opportunity to like make a pretty presentation. But at the same time, garnishes are really functional and people miss that piece. So just putting a flower, and unfortunately often a non-edible flower, on top of a cocktail is pointless. So if it has a scent, if it has something else that draws you in, if it connects back to the drink, that's going to make you enjoy that drink very differently. Your nose picks up on the scent of rosemary on top of a glass, and then your taste buds can then taste that differently and pick up on, a subtle, maybe like herb saccharum, oleosaccharum, which is from the syrups chapter, which is when you make a syrup with the peels, leftover citrus peels from juicing. So it's something that helps you enjoy the drink differently, and is like it should be, in an ideal state, it should be a connection piece between the ingredients of the drink and what you're about to enjoy. It should give you a little clue. It's like a little teaser,
And I find garnishes, I think a lot of times people think garnishes are fussy. In fact, like, we serve garnishes at our bar all the time, and they're like, oh, like, I don't need that, or I don't
save it. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Like, it's too much. Like, just, girl, treat
You're
yourself.
like,
Come
yeah,
on.
you need the garnish. Yes, you
Yeah.
do.
But I actually find them very, very pragmatic, because most of the garnishes in this book use something that you would have otherwise possibly thrown away or would have gone to waste, and instead you're just adding an extra layer. And so it's like most of the garnishes in this book, and then that we use, are like the candied citrus peels are a great one. When we make a syrup, we have an orange vanilla syrup, and we're actually like using the orange juice. It's like, well, now I have all these peels. What do I do? And I just hate throwing anything
Sure.
away. And so I was like, well, we boil these a million times, and then we candy them, then we have this epic garnish that we can serve on like so many cocktails. And so it's not fussy at all for me. It's in fact like a really great way to preserve that and like share that and be able to have, I guess, a little bit of specialness even when all of those things are out of season. And so that's what I love the most about garnishes.
I love that.
I am a garnish snob. I have been known to pack my own garnish.
She has purse garnishes when we go to the bar. Like, she won't specify her liquor, but she'll bring her own garnish.
Oh yeah, like, you can serve me well liquor all day long, but I'm just gonna pop a rosemary in it, and it will be better. It will be better.
That's so funny. I like the idea too that you're saying, there's things you're preserving that are seasonal in the moment, but then later in another season you get to enjoy it. It's like, oh, you can have a taste of summer in the winter perhaps with something. And then you said candied orange peel, and I just want candied orange peels now. But I also think garnishes just round out the experience, right? They provide a wow factor there that just make everything more interesting. So when we think of the wow factor, what are a couple for you in this chapter that, someone listening today, they get the book, they can serve at a party, couple garnishes they can use that are just going to be, a good conversation or be a wow factor for their guest?
Yeah, I mean, so the very first one, for a reason, in that chapter is fancy ice. And I just call it fancy ice because really you can put whatever you want in ice cubes and make it beautiful. And I've done a little bit of everything. You can't put whatever you want. We do go into that not everything is going to retain.
You're like,
its
hold on,
color.
let me take that back just a second.
Yeah,
not anything.
walk it back. You can, but it won't work.
An example. I'm just going to give you an example. Lavender doesn't hold its color when it's frozen, and lavender, the shape of it makes it look like a bunch of little mouse turds. So don't put lavender in your fancy ice.
Truly.
Good example.
Yeah. But fancy ice is it's one of those things it's a little bit tedious because it takes time. You have to think it through ahead of time, right? You have to start it hours before you want to enjoy this drink. But it's so like the extra mile, and it just feels so elevated and fun. And I know that there's like all this trends right now of putting a lot of fruit in ice and having like these very like some of these people who have a different lifestyle than I do have like whole like sections of their freezer of like different ice. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like for a really nice happy hour, take these edible flowers that do retain their color or the herbs that do retain their color and put them in some ice cubes. And here's how to do it so that you can actually see through. People think that you can maybe just use like your water out of your tap, and you can't. It'll be really cloudy and then it won't really work. So people love the fancy ice. It's just one of those things like your friends will feel really loved.
I love the floral salt and sugar rimmers. I love a rim on my glass. I'm a little ADHD, and so like it gives me a little something extra to do while I'm bored. And I really love salt. I also I would I love salt. And so I love a margarita with salt. And when you give me like a glass that also has another flavor in addition to that salt, so whether it's spicy or whether it is like a floral rimmer and it like looks really pretty. I also really love it. Like, this is just the nerd in me, but I really love it when you get creative with like your rimming and design.
Yeah.
So like if it's only on half of it or it's like in a swoop.
Well, let's take a look at the list here. We've got some great stuff: candied citrus peels, citrus wheels, chive flower braids, Bloody Mary skewers, herb bouquets, mojito berries, spicy herb, garden herb.
Herb.
I was just listening to another podcast where they went back and forth and it got in my head. I was like, wait, like, so sorry. I like totally tripped myself up there. I kept
I
seeing
think
it over.
herb is British.
And yeah, yes, you're correct. And I was like, that's the whole conversation they had actually. And then I was like, wait, am I British now or am I not British? What's happening here? Oh my goodness. Okay. Floral, salt or sugar, herb garden, vanilla sugar, quick pickled garlic scapes, asparagus or green beans, pickled carrots. Such good stuff here. Pickled celery and pickled chive blossoms. And now I don't drink actually. So I was thrilled when I saw you gave us a non-alcoholic drink section. And I'm such a purist that honestly, I'm first drawn to the fresh lemonade by the pitcher and the iced tea as well. But this book has been out for a while now, and one of the fun things I love about social media, it's got its pros and cons, is that people will post what they're making from your book once the book is out. So are there any fan favorites from the non-alcoholic drink section? Is there anything you've seen people posting?
We haven't seen as many of the more summery recipes yet because a lot of our folks in the Northwest just can't make a lot of those things yet. But we are seeing some simple syrup sodas and we're seeing the cordial spritz. That one with the lilac syrup was like exploding. And then now we're just in the start of elderflowers around here. Typically you'll see them in June or July, depending on where you at. And elderflower cordial spritz is like so good. If you've ever drank previously and you liked Saint Germain, like a Hugo spritz, that's kind of that elderflower flavor. A lot of people aren't familiar with what it's going to taste like, but it's so yummy. And then the iced coffee, people love knowing how to make an iced coffee with their own homemade syrups at home, especially like the lavender honey iced coffee. That one is one of my personal favorites, and it comes up a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so good. So good. And
But that said, I think everyone should make the at high noon because
yeah,
that
tell me
one
more.
I think is like it doesn't jump off the page. There's certain recipes that just don't, but it's so good and so refreshing. And it's really more on that, like, if you want something very not sweet or even not too acidic, like sometimes like a lemonade even is a little bit too much, like too pungent, right? And so this one is a little bit more understated, and it's that infused water that you can make with the botanical waters. And then you combine that with green juice, and you make this little like blend drink. And I'm not selling it. Green juice doesn't sound good, but it's so good. If your palate is just not as sweet, and I'm someone who, when it's very hot out, I don't want to drink sweet things.
Sure.
And so this is a really like refreshing other perspective.
I love a green drink. It sounds delicious to me. What is the non-alcoholic buck?
Oh yeah, so that one is actually back in the shrubs category. We didn't talk about it, but I thought maybe we should have, because that ginger lime shrub is essentially making a ginger beer at home.
Okay.
As far as flavored. Now, ginger beers are brewed beverages where it's like fermented and you don't have the vinegar, but the vinegar actually in that ginger lime shrub makes it so that you get that tartness that you get from like a mule typically has ginger beer and lime juice. And so by doing the ginger lime shrub, you're kind of making this like uber super mega ingredient that can do all of the things.
Yeah.
And it's really yummy. And that non-alcoholic buck is just that spiciness of the ginger really makes an intriguing non-alcoholic drink. And so you use that shrub and you use a little bit of fresh lime juice, and then you can layer on top of it if you want. So that's a really nice chance to add one of the tinctures and do like a spicier ginger buck, or you can add one of the syrups and do like a Marionberry mint. Buck is really fun. And buck is just the blanket term for what a lot of people call a Moscow Mule today is actually a
Okay.
copyrighted term. So the ginger beer company, at Gosling's, and then the vodka company, they got together and they copyrighted that recipe.
There you go.
But the original term for what we call a Moscow Mule today is just the drink category is called bucks. And it's
Okay.
any drink made with ginger beer, ginger ale.
Lovely. Oh, that's so good. And I mean, everybody listen up here. Strawberries and cream soda, simple syrup soda, shrub soda, bitters and soda, creamy tea cobbler. Tell me about the creamy tea cobbler.
That's kind of one of our soda shop originals. And it is just taking an iced tea and then adding like a dairy or non-dairy alternative. So we like it with oat milk in there. It's really yummy in the creamy tea cobbler. Or you can use like a coconut cream, depending on the flavors of tea and the flavor of syrup you choose. So you're layering teas, juices, maybe a syrup, and then that creamy component. So it's just kind of all in one in a drink, and it's really indulgent and flavorful without being high caffeine. And you can even do like we do all different versions of these. So the recipe here calls for black tea, but in the note it says like you can do, any herbal tea you like as well. You can do, jasmine, you can do Earl Grey, whatever you like.
Nice. Nice. I love it. Well, now we've come to the final section, but this is the chapter of all chapters here in this book. Listeners, we have reached our final destination, and that chapter is called, you guessed it, cocktails. Now, what is one for each of you when you started writing this book you knew had to be in the book? A couple surefire cocktails you've been delighting people with for years that finally found a home in these pages.
Mm. That's a tough one because yeah, just editing down this chapter, we had to cut a lot of
You're
cocktails
like many
already,
of them,
and now you're
actually.
making me
Yes.
edit again. Well, okay, I really, really, really like an entertaining cocktail because I just think that if there's a drink that I'm going to make over and over, and kind of reach for, it's one that I can make by the pitcher that I know most people at a party are going to enjoy. It's kind of a crowd favorite, and it's really good. And so there's a pitcher. I can't remember what I call it in here because I've called it a million things over the years when I need to, but it's a berry liqueur and berry vodka pitcher drink that you make a whole mess of, and
Is it
you're
the
using
pitcher
a berry
punch?
syrup. Yeah, that's what I called it. So easy.
It's
How
always
easy
the
is that, as
easiest one.
Ina
You're
would
like,
say.
you've had all the different names for it. It's always the easiest one. You're like, where you put that name, you put it in writing, and you're like, no, what is the name of that?
Yeah, pitcher
Always.
punch.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a berry one. And so you make your own berry liqueur, and then you can do like an infused vodka in it if you'd like. I think this one's really fun because there's the very basic version you can do. It's just like make a raspberry vodka and then put it in this punch with some citrus flavors, add some like, fresh lemon. But you can also get really fun with this. So you can do, a strawberry syrup and then maybe like that poblano liqueur and then make this like really intriguing kind of mix. You can tell I like a sweet hot mix, can't you? Everything I reference
Yeah,
is
but that's
something.
great. I mean, that's a crowd pleaser right there. Sweet hot mix,
Exactly.
delicious. Yes.
Exactly. And I'm also a very lazy entertainer because I want to enjoy my parties too. And I think that if you're not enjoying the party, then everyone notices and they feel awkward.
Yeah.
So I'm all about, I'll make you your first drink when you come over. And then after that, everything is self serve. And I set up a nice little bar or I do a pitcher drink and everyone can just have fun.
Love it.
Yeah. And mine is definitely the Nancy's whiskey sour. It is a pretty traditional whiskey sour with variations, of course, depending on what you have on hand. But it's probably my favorite picture in the book because it is our grandma, and she was such a huge inspiration to the book. It is her drink that we make for her because she is a pretty, I guess, like basic drinker. She's an expert. She's been drinking for a long time. She's 89 years old, and the girl
Good
knows
for
how to
her.
happy hour like
Yeah.
no one else I know. And she's always got a full, liquor cabinet. But when she comes to the soda shop, and she's like really kind of treating herself, she'll ask for the whiskey sour. It's a complex drink, so it's also what I love about it is there's certain drinks, that I feel like I can just free ball and I can just go for it. And this whiskey sour is not one of them.
Yeah.
You have to measure.
You know, like I have to measure and I have to do the thing. And so it is one that I would actually pull out a recipe for. I don't do that with all of my cocktails, but and so that one was like one, like you got to have this recipe in there. And like with it's like a 2-page recipe because we have a lot of story notes on it, but we also do a really good job of, I think, describing exactly how to make it. So if you've never made one, you can actually make it.
Yeah, like you see all the time that you know the vegan way to make a sour is aquafaba or like the chickpea water, right? But like when you drain a can of chickpeas, there's a little bit of bubbles that come up, right? Every time you do that. But to make that turn into like a 1-inch thick foam, like you would see in a craft cocktail bar, are two very different things. So we walk you through like, here's how to actually do that. It's called the technique is a dry shake. So you do a dry shake without ice, and then you add the ice in and do a second shake. We tell you like the action you should do, because every time we teach a cocktail class, people are like over here like doing the smallest little shake and they're getting it done. And it's like, no, like move the ice, like action in the shaker is what's creating the like proteins to break up and create the foam. And so I just think it's a good description that actually tells you how to do it.
Yeah, well, that's a classic. My next question was going to kind of be for you though, like what are a couple familiar or classic cocktails in this chapter that are sort of timeless, but maybe have a simple goodness sister touch on it?
Yeah, I think the homecoming margarita would be one, and it's one I love. I love mezcal, and it uses an orange liqueur, which you could make, or you could use Quattro, but then it uses pumpkin spice syrup. So this is really a fall kind of version of a daisy, which daisy is the name of the category. Margarita means daisy in Spanish. And then it uses a pepper tincture. Again, me with the peppers, but the garnish is a vanilla sugar, going back to what Venise said about the rim. Like, I think this is a great example of a recipe in the book that it's like all of these different pieces in this cocktail are an opportunity to do something, a recipe from the book or something from scratch that's really delicious. So you've got, you know, like marigolds and peppers as your garnishes. You've got this beautiful rim. You've got the pumpkin spice homemade syrup. You've got the pepper tincture to bring in a little bit of heat. And it's a really good drink.
Also, if you are a pumpkin spice lover, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I have tried to make pumpkin spice syrup in every way, shape, and form because I love pumpkin spice, and we nailed it. And it is a very specific way of making this.
Love it.
It takes a little bit longer, but normally it's just like out of canned pumpkin, and we don't use canned pumpkin. We actually use like the whole pumpkin, and it is lovely and worth the extra effort.
Yeah, and we've got some really classic cocktails in here, like an old fashioned and a margarita, where it's like your opportunity to add something different is by making the bitters yourself or adding a seasonal syrup into this margarita. Maybe you infuse your tequila first, and we give you all the ideas for that. So really approachable drinks, also like a shandy if you're a beer drinker, but you want something kind of different. I love a shandy, actually. It's also great for people who don't drink alcohol because there's so many good non-alcoholic beers on the in the world now, and it's a really great NA option to make a shandy that feels like you kind of feel like you're getting a cocktail still. But then there's ones that are like a clarified milk punch, and those are classic in terms of like so classic that like we used to drink these 100 years ago, and now they're coming kind of back into fashion. And that's kind of fun. And then the Gibson. So another one that's like a really old school cocktail. You drank a lot of them in like the 60s, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there. But like Gibson is a great savory cocktail, and savory cocktails are having a moment right now. And a Gibson is a really fun. The perspective we add is that we do a pickled chive blossom instead of the pickled onion that you usually see in a Gibson. And chives are such a like special moment in the garden because those chive blossoms are only around for a little bit of time, but pickling them is a great way to preserve them so you get to enjoy them longer.
Those are some great creative takes on some classics for sure. And now I'm curious then, we're looking at this list, everybody. I mean, how many cocktails would you say are in the cocktail section? You would know more than I would. I could count them quick, but
I think we stopped at 72.
Yeah, it's really a well fleshed out chapter in here, giving such a variety. So I'm curious, what are some that are, you know, signature cocktails that y'all came up with on your own? We've talked about some classics now, but like, let's wrap this up by talking about some of your favorites that you've created from scratch in this chapter.
Yeah, one I love, I don't know if we have any Alice and Roman fans who listen, but made one based off of a recipe that she makes for a salad. And so it's called Roman's Empire. And I do this a lot where if there's a food that has a fun combination of flavors that I like, I'll turn it into a cocktail. And so
Nice.
Roman's Empire is this nice brunch cocktail that's very light. It uses the fenolcello. So the original salad recipe was like segmented grapefruits and raw shaved fennel. And I made a version of that with the fenolcello and the grapefruit and then fresh mint. And the mint is really that bridge between those two very different flavors that adds that like freshness and the herbal kind of little perspective. Another one is the spruce drop. Again, very, very Pacific Northwestern, but also very like Northeastern to do the spruce.
Sure.
And you get a vodka and you make spruce tip syrup. You can also make a spruce tip vodka if you so chose. And spruce tips are they're very acidic. They've got a lot of like lemony kind of flavor, and they're the new growth off of the spruce tree in the spring. And that growth it's not the same texture. It's very like feathery and soft. And the flavor when it comes out is actually used medicinally by Native Americans for, centuries, that it's a way to prevent scurvy because it gives you vitamin C after a long winter when your body didn't have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. And so that flavor is so unique because it's not just lemon. It's like citrusy, but a little different. And I love this drink a lot. It just feels like something that tastes like home to us. And so,
Nice.
yeah. How about you?
I would say the Bloody Bunny because the Bloody Bunny was very much inspired by a Bloody Mary. I like carrots more than I like tomato juice. And one of our like very beginner, like she's like just a huge supporter of us. Like throughout the years, we had this like kind of contest with our Kickstarter when we were raising money for our soda shop.
Yep.
And she submitted kind of this recipe for a Bloody Bunny, and it was amazing. And we were like, that's so cool. And so we edited it a little bit. And like when we were writing the book, I was like, I just really feel like this is one of those kind of a riff on a Bloody Mary, but adds a completely different look and taste for people who may not be the biggest Bloody Mary fans. And I love it. It's one of my favorite drinks. When she made it for the book, because the other, I think, interesting piece is that like every single photo in the book, we actually made the drink. And so we got to drink a lot of the drinks and make sure that they were good and, all of those things. And it was kind of like that final test. And so that was one of my favorite drinks to drink after the photo shoot.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and our spin, the big spin we put on it is the spirit that you do. So there's an infused spirit, and you can either choose something a little more safe, which is the botanical gin. We basically walk you through how to make your own gin by taking vodka. It's not the same way a distiller does it because, they vaporize flavors at really high heat and use these distilling baskets. But you're doing an infusion over time of all the different botanicals that make gin taste like gin. So you can kind of make your own gin blend by following that recipe, which is neat, I think, because I love gin. But the other thing you can do is this kale and chard vodka, which is so fun and has this cool color and tastes vegetal, but not like you're eating a salad and drinking at the same time. It's hard to describe, but it's very good. And in the Bloody Bunny, it really adds a freshness to that drink because the carrot juice can be really sweet. So I love that.
That's wonderful. Listeners, you've got to be thirsty by now. My friends, that is Drink Your Garden. But before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you, what is your book brag? Something you're both most proud of when it comes to this book?
Well, we had never written a cocktail book before, obviously, but we also decided to do it like we do most things in the hardest way possible, where I styled every single photo in this book. There was no art director. There was no prop stylist. There was no food stylist. Like we made every single drink and then shot live every single drink. And I collected all of the props and did all of that. So I'm pretty proud of myself on that. It was not
You
easy.
should be. That's a lot of work.
It's like three people's jobs. And then we modeled too, because we're in the photos. We quickly learned we shouldn't do those two things on the same day because, you get your dress all dirty and then the photographer's like, I can't edit out all of these things,
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the photography for sure, we worked really hard. And I think what's cool about this book is that one of our very, very good friends shot it. She was also not a food photographer. She had never done any
No
food photography.
kidding. The shot shots are so amazing.
Aren't they stunning? Yeah. And so
Wow.
she has shot us. She's our like personal family photographer.
Sure.
And she's a fantastic lifestyle photographer. And we wanted a lot of the photos to have life in them. And so when we got, the book deal, we were like, what are we going to do for photos? And our immediate call was Riley. And we were like, hey, will you shoot this book? And she's like, I don't know how to do food photography. We don't have a studio. And we're like, we can do it. I think we can just do it.
Absolutely.
Between the three of us, we can do it. And it was a ton of work because also we wanted a lot of these photos to be seasonal. And so we started in the very early spring and went all the way through fall.
We regretted not having any snow for some of the winter ones, but we did like 8 different shots. And a lot of times cookbooks, are shot in like one or 2 or 3 sessions or like a 2-week long kind of thing.
Sure.
But yeah, because it was seasonal, that was an added challenge. And then because we wanted it to be a year on the life of the cocktail farm, like it's the real background of our cocktail farm or the creek down the street.
Yeah.
Some of them are at my house so that you could see the difference in a home size garden versus Venice's larger commercial garden. So yeah, the photography, there's a reason she's credited on the front of the book. I'll just say that.
Yes.
Like, we
And
bought
let's
for
shout
that
her
because
name
she
out.
earned it.
Give her full name. What's the name?
Riley Full.
Riley
and
Full.
I think that's the other cool thing is that sometimes, you'll throw photos from other photographers in there and every single photo is her photo. So it was to the point where we had some good photos that we had taken previously of certain things. And we're like, nope, we got to reshoot it because it's got to be Riley's photo. So.
Oh, I love that. And honestly, great thing to be proud of because doing the photography and or styling and modeling, you're doing all of it. It is not easy. So congratulations. We're going to move on and wrap things up with your rapid fire round of questions. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. Number 1, shaken or stirred?
I love citrus, so shaken.
Shaken.
There we go. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles, texture. I like a crunch.
Waffles. Same.
And texting or calling?
Oh, texting.
Everyone has said texting so far. I had one person that said calling, and I was like, who are you? Beach or mountains?
No. The greatest thing about Washington is we have both within 3 hours. So I feel like I don't have to choose.
That is true.
Beach for me.
Okay. And hot sauce or barbecue sauce?
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce.
Favorite day of the week?
Friday,
yeah. No, I think Monday.
Oh, God.
Because of our job, Monday is my day off.
There we go.
And it's my day off where my kids are in school. So I do like a long walk and I have this whole routine. I do my grocery shopping and I love a grocery shop. So yeah, I like Monday.
No, Friday.
Books or movies?
Books.
Movies.
And citrus or berry?
Citrus.
This next question.
Berry. I think berry.
Oh.
Sorry.
No.
It took me a second because that's a hard one because I love both. So
we had citrus and then berry, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The reason I moved on so quickly is because I looked down in this next question. I'm like, that's not really a either. I'll tell you, hiking or biking. That doesn't like.
But I'd still pick hiking.
Okay.
It helps.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, because you're wheels or you're hiking. I guess in my brain, I was just like, you're biking and you're on the road. Anyways, you can see why I had a moment, right? But now I'm seeing it. So wait, you said hiking, and then Venise, what did you say?
Hiking also. Less equipment. It's just more spur of the moment, I feel like.
Okay. Yeah. And on the rocks or straight up?
On the rocks.
On the rocks.
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunset.
I'm not a morning person. Neither is she.
Camping or glamping?
Camping.
Glamping. I like both, but I mean,
sure. If you have to choose, right? Give yourself a little luxury.
Pack as much when I glamp. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And your last one here: happy hour or nightcap?
Happy hour.
That's a hard.
I'm more of a day drinker.
Both.
Right. Yeah, when you just said I'm more of a day drinker.
And the nightcap.
When you said I'm more of a day drinker, I was like, honey, when I drink, I loved it all. Daytime, nighttime, it's fine. Whatever. Well, now please tell everyone where they can find you on social media and the internet.
Yeah, we're TikTok, Simple Goodness Sis. That's mostly me. She's not into it. Instagram, Simple Goodness Sisters. Our website is simplegoodnesssisters.com. Really easy. And Facebook, Simple Goodness Farm.
Perfect. Everyone, go get your copy of Drink Your Garden Recipes, Stories, and Tips from the Simple Goodness Cocktail Farm, everywhere books are sold. Belinda and Venise, congratulations on this fabulous book, and thank you for taking the time to chat with me today about it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was so fun.
This is so fun. Yeah.
Loved it.
This has been a Muzzy Cat production.